the violence was concentrated in one area, Bhangar. But at the end of the day, the buck of law and order stops with the state government. The question we're asking tonight on Brass Tacks, who then let Bengal burn?
It seems to be the same story in the state of West Bengal. Political violence surrounding elections, this time over the crucial Panchayat polls. Even though the TMC swept the elections, the BJP claims democracy has been murdered in Bengal again.
मुझे बताया गया कल काउंटिंग में भी हत्या हुई है, काउंटिंग में भी पीटा गया है. ममता जी, you have shamed the democracy in Bengal. ममता जी, आपने लोकतंत्र को शर्मसार किया है बंगाल में.
While it tries to make a deal with the TMC for a united front against the BJP, the Congress has trained its guns at Mamata Banerjee, calling the entire election process a farce.
It is nothing but a state, West Bengal state government sponsored violence.
Despite multiple court interventions and deployment of the central forces, chaos consumed the Panchayat elections. The governor and the state opposition rained fire on the state election commissioner Rajiv Sinha, accusing him of mismanaging central deployment, ignoring political violence and working as an agent of the TMC government. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee hit back, accusing the opposition of engineering the violence. She cited the election results, saying if she has done something wrong, the voters will punish her.
অনেক এজেন্সি একটা জিনিস আপনারা লক্ষ্য করুন, আমরা কি অপরাধ করেছি? আমি অপরাধ করলে আমায় শাস্তি দিন, আমার কোনো যায় আসে না, আমি মামাটি মানুষের শাস্তি মেনে নিতে রাজি আছি. আমার যদি সত্যিই কোনো অপরাধ থাকে, যে অপরাধ মানুষ আমাকে দেবে আমি মাথা পেতে নেব.
The BJP meanwhile has dispatched a fact-finding team to assess the situation in the violence-hit areas as tensions persist.
क्या हो रहा है ममता जी? ये क्या हो रहा है? एक गरीब की झोपड़ी में आपके लोग आकर के उठापटक करते हैं, तोड़ देते हैं, सामान फेंक देते हैं, इसके बेटे को कटारी से मारते हैं और उसकी सुरक्षा के लिए पार्टी को उसके लिए बाहर व्यवस्था करनी पड़ती है और बात करती है लोकतंत्र की. शर्म आनी चाहिए ममता जी आपको.
The TMC has claimed the mandate of the Panchayat polls as the biggest counter to the opposition. But no one can deny the chaos that has marred the election process again. Now that the elections are over, will the TMC government crack down on the anti-social elements behind the violence? Or was there a conspiracy behind the chaos? Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
All right, before we go across to our panelists, I want to go across to my colleague Kamalika Sengupta, who was there on ground covering the poll season right from the start. Kamalika, we've seen violence, and violence is not new to Bengal during election season. We've seen this in previous Panchayat elections as well. But the fact that an unofficial count puts the number of people who've died in this poll season at above 30, the Chief Minister says 19 people are officially dead. Doesn't that question arise as to why the situation was allowed to spiral so badly out of control that so many people had to lose their lives?
Absolutely. That's the biggest question of the day. When on the last day of nomination, Zaka, in the same Bhangar, 3 people died. And on the last day of counting, officially the election process will go end. The entire night, the bombing and the type of firing which took place yesterday night also took 3 lives. So 6 lives within 1 month. Only in Bhangar, just for Panchayat polls. And this was not, since it's always there. Panchayat polls means a very micro-level local self-government election where each individual village pradhan becomes very powerful because all the projects and all the money comes to him. Now, the fight was so much, that's always there. But this time, with so much of, even yesterday, the state force was there, the central force was there. This Bhangar is only 40 minutes away from Calcutta. Then also, this type of death could not be averted because there was no political will on the ground.
All right.
That's the biggest question, and definitely this is really going to go to the court, and some more trouble is definitely going to come for the ruling party.
Okay, Kamalika Sengupta, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how the story plays out. because like I've been saying, as far as the buck is concerned, it stops with the state government. Law and order is a state subject, and even during poll season, as is the case. So let me now go across to our guests who are joining us. Sanju Verma is national spokesperson of the BJP. Meeta Chakrabarti, spokesperson of the Congress, is joining us. We also have Mohammad Tausif Rahman of the TMC who will be joining us, and Rajat Sethi, a political analyst, also will be joining us. Sanju Verma, I don't know if you heard what Mamata Banerjee said today, the Chief Minister. She had a press conference and she basically said two things. That the BJP is responsible for all the violence that has happened in her state. And B, she also said that the entire cycle of violence was based in one locality, was restricted to one locality called Bhangar. And she says that that was at the behest of the BJP. How do you respond?
You know, Zaka, you've raised a pertinent question. And before I come straight to the point, I would just like, for the benefit of your viewers, read out what the Kolkata High Court said today. This is what it said. The responsibility to ensure that there is no breach of peace lies with the state government. Obviously, Mamata Banerjee in this case. If the state government is not in a position to safeguard its citizens, then it is a very serious matter to be taken note of. And yesterday, on the, yesterday what the Kolkata High Court said was, we have passed a series of orders. We have received 44 complaints via emails. Our registrar has received 44 complaints via emails about widespread violence. Despite our series of orders, why have you not been able to ensure free and fair polls, and the violence continues even after the elections are over? I think there could not have been a more stinging condemnation, a more stinging castigation of the fact that law and order has not only collapsed in West Bengal, it has taken a flying leap out of the window.
Okay.
Point number one. Point number two, you said, Mamata Banerjee said it's limited to a very few pockets. I heard her press conference. She said, barring a few areas in Kuch Behar, there is no violence in North 24 Parganas, South 24 Parganas, Bankura, North Dinajpur, South Dinajpur. And I tell her that she is either blind or pretending to be so, because the violence has been widespread. And today's Kolkata High Court judgment says that there are petitions which have requested for repolling in as many as 50,000 booths. 50,000 out of the 62,366 booths that actually went into polling. 50,000 is not a small number by any stretch of imagination.
So anyway, the repolling was done for 600 plus booths. Let me ask Mohammad Tausif Rahman. The point is, Mohammad, in the run-up to the polls, there was violence. On the last day of filing of nominations, there was violence. On polling day, there was violence. On counting day, there was violence. And even as we speak, it's continuing. And yet, you know, the state government is not owning up its responsibility. No one is saying that all the violence was instigated by the state or by state actors. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you, the state government.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's very heart-wrenching to see what Bengal has faced and this brutal conspiracy against the people of Bengal. The CM has announced a strict action against all those people who have been involved to do any kind of nuisance, whether they belong from TFC, BJP, CPM, ISF, whatsoever. But, you know, I would like to tell you, because TMC is such a party who is not so much proactive with dealing with rights and working with those people who have dealt with rights and who create rights, like Bharatiya Janata Dal Party. You know, because we were not prepared that in Panchayat election, some nuisance will come from somewhere and Suvendu Adhikari will support them, and people like Dilip Ghosh. I will tell you, you know, you need to see those videos. I mean, Dilip Ghosh in his statement with very confirmed, and he was like strict what he was going to say, that people coming from Bangladesh carrying AK-47 bombs and such arms and ammunition. My question is, like, if Dilip Ghosh, being an opposition leader, knows these things are coming from Bangladesh, so the BSF is under whom? The state government or the central government?
No, but once again, Mr. Rahman, you know, the bulk of the violence happened in Bhangar, right? And in Bhangar,
yes, of
it was not BJP versus TMC. In Bhangar, it was ISF versus TMC. It was independent Muslim candidates who had a problem with TMC and its official candidates who had a problem. So as much as you blame the BJP, and like I said, you're free to, you know, blame the BSF, free to blame the BJP.
I would like to clear the thought
but the
process.
epicenter of the violence was in Bhangar, where the BJP's role was limited. The violence was largely between ISF and TMC or independent candidates in TMC?
I would love to clear the thought process, sir, not just to you, but to the viewers and whole India and the people of Bengal. You know what happened in Bhangar? The TMC worker was coming from his work late night, just before the nomination itself. And these ISF people, very few in numbers, again, I'm telling you, because you will charge me that when Tosif, you are telling them that BJP is few in numbers, ISF few in numbers, then who's attacking them? But again, they were few in numbers and they attacked one TMC cadre and the TMC cadre went hospital directly. Now the question is who's supporting ISF? It is very clear in Bhangar that ISF is backed by BJP. There are 6 independent candidates and you have the posters of that candidate asking for vote, which is clearly written, backed by BJP, ISF, Congress, CPN, everyone. So if you are supporting and if you have an alliance political party in West Bengal, why don't you come and declare that yes, we are working with CPM, we are working with ISF, we are working BJP together.
No, one second, Mr. Rahman, are you hearing what you're saying? You are saying that the violence was sponsored by BJP, Congress, CPM and ISF. They're all in one camp and the TMC is in the opposite camp. I mean,
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
It's bizarre to say the least. I mean, Congress, BJP
Absolutely
can't be
right.
in the same camp.
Absolutely
Anyway,
right.
let me ask Meeta Chakrabarti this.
One
One second. Let me ask Meeta Chakrabarti this. Meeta Chakrabarti, I think one thing is very, very clear. Yes, the responsibility for the violence needs to be fixed. And the responsibility for the violence does stop with the state government. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But purely on the question of electoral relevance, electoral success, I think it's very clear now Bengal is becoming a two-horse race between the TMC and the BJP. The BJP may be in a distant second position, but it's a two-horse race. The Congress is nowhere in the picture, the CPM is nowhere in the picture, and neither is the ISF. You guys have been completely edged out of this contest.
I think on the contrary, first of all, good evening to all the fellow panelists and good evening to your viewers. On the contrary, the vote share difference between the BJP and the left and the Congress combined together, it has actually narrowed down as compared to what we saw in the last assembly election and the Lok Sabha election. But however, I don't think this was an election at all. So to take these results and to do any political analysis will obviously be very, very misleading. I want to make a larger point. We have a lot of political organizations, the state government, the state election commission, everyone coming and claiming that no one is responsible for violence. But fact of the matter is that 47 people have died in the state of West Bengal just for an election to take place. It reminds me of that movie, No One Killed Jessica. No one is responsible for violence and yet people are dying. It's very, very unfortunate. I think the first thing that needs to happen is we have to stop normalizing violence. We have to stop quoting figures from the past. If we at all want to change this atmosphere of fear and intimidation in the state of West Bengal, then and when we say we, political representatives from all political organizations need to get together. There has to be a political will, and we have to say that
but
no, we are not
Bengal is no stranger to political violence. Bengal has seen political violence right from the 60s when the Congress was in power, and through the 70s, 80s, and 90s when the CPM was in power, and now in the 2000s when the TMC is in power.
So by doing that, by constantly quoting figures from the past, we are in a way justifying violence. And my request to all people, to all media personalities, all politicians is let us stop this.
Okay.
In today's time and age, with such internet penetration, with such presence of media, digital media, social media, not even a single person should lose life just because an election has to take place in a state. That's ridiculous.
This sounds great from a pedestal, from a speaking
Saka,
position.
I'll explain you something.
One second. On national television, on reality, in reality, on ground, work has to be done. Law and order has to be instilled, and the police and the law and order machinery has to work on the ground. Not in a television debate with words and statements. And for that, accountability is very clear. The accountability stays with the state government. Let me get Professor Gargi Nandi Roy. No, one second. I have a larger question to ask. There used to be a time when we talked about political violence. It was almost always in UP and Bihar and so on. But in Bengal, for the last 30, 40 years, things have only been getting worse. It's not like it's getting any better. 2018 also local body elections, there was rampant violence. In this 2023 elections also, there is rampant violence. At the end of the day, somebody needs to be held to account for it.
Right, Zaka, you're very right. You know, violence has become synonymous with elections in West Bengal. I mean, there's still the ghost of the 2021 post-poll violence still haunting the people of Bengal. If you remember, when Khala Hobe was the slogan, which became synonymous with murder and rape. Told to a man means murder and told to a woman means rape. Why has this happened, Zaka? Because the main reason, because they want to loot. They want to loot the money of the panchayat. If you remember Amphan, what happened during Amphan? The tents, the ration, all the relief materials were looted by the panchayat members. So this is a loot. Panchayat is the source of money, and that's why, because there is abject poverty. And then also, that is also because of the successive governments. The left talked about anti-capitalist, so they had driven away all the industries. Even Didi has driven away all industries. So what will happen? What will the party people do? What will the villagers do? So these are little things they are fighting with each other. Which era is West Bengal still in? Is it in an advanced civilized state? Is this a civilized state where 49 people till date has died before and they looted in 3 stages? They first stopped people from nomination, filing their nomination. Secondly, you know how people were stopped? I know, my auntie stays there. People did not go out to vote, Zaka, because of the roadside TMC goons are there. They are not allowing. People did not go to vote. And then car and Jeep TMC goons came and they did entire rigging. It is called scientific
Okay, so let me ask Sanju Verma this. You know, leave aside the question of sir, ma'am, once again I'll come back to you. Sanju Verma, you know, let's leave aside the question of violence. That will go on. I guess the Calcutta High Court will have to take cognizance of this matter. But on the question of who won this round of elections, I think it's very clear that the TMC has won this handsomely. In fact, last I checked before coming into the studio, more than 60,000 seats across, various Zilla Parishads and Panchayats and so on. More than 40,000 have been won by the TMC. The BJP's figure was under 10,000 last I checked.
Zaka, first and foremost, I just have this to say, that BJP has emerged as the single largest, force after the TMC. If you look at the last assembly elections in 2021, we raised our tally from 3 seats to 77 seats, which is a 2,466% jump. We got a 38% vote share. Don't forget Lok Sabha 2019 when we had a 41% vote share with 18 Lok Sabha seats from West Bengal when people had completely written us off. So I think for the BJP, from a 1.1% vote share in 2016 to a 38% vote share in 2021 assembly elections is a journey which talks about the grit, the determination, the sacrifices by the BJP Karyakartas on ground in West Bengal, not to mention, of course, the top leadership which has been hand-holding them. But I want to just say this to you. I do not, never on any debate, when the BJP lost Himachal Pradesh, we are a party which is very gracious in defeat. We said we will introspect. We lost Karnataka, we accepted it with humility and we said we will introspect because there may have been things which we got it wrong and the electorate has spoken. But when it comes to the Panchayat poll results in West Bengal, I take them not with a pinch of salt, but with bucketfuls of salt because we've not heard the last word on this. And I want this to be known to your audience. Mamata Banerjee should know that under the 7th schedule of the Constitution, law and order is a state subject, and Zaka, tell me, had it been Uttar Pradesh, people would have been baying for Yogi Adityanath's blood. Had it been Haryana, people would have been baying for ML Khattar's blood. Had it been Assam, people would have been baying for Himanta Biswa Sarma's blood. But look at the travesty, look at the irony. Now that it is West Bengal and the person at the epicenter of all this is an incompetent chief minister called Mamata Banerjee, you and me are still debating as to whether Mamata Banerjee should be given the clean chit. Is she responsible?
Okay, Mohammad Tausif Rahman, the point that Sanju Verma is raising is also valid. No one has spoken out, at least from the opposition space. No one seems to be speaking out against this absolute mindless violence that's happening in Bengal. maybe for fear of alienating Mamata Banerjee, or maybe, the opposition seems to have a different set of standards when it comes to violence in BJP-ruled states and different set of standards when it comes to violence in opposition-ruled states. And Sanju Verma is right. So please answer her question. Had this violence taken place in Uttar Pradesh, or had this violence taken place in any of the BJP-ruled states, the opposition would have been out to get blood. But today, no one from the opposition of any consequence has come out and asked why Mamata Banerjee is allowing this violence to happen on her watch.
No, Zaka, it's not that simple. It's a blame game thing. Yeah, we have been facing this from last 20 days. Earlier, they were crying for nomination. Then they were crying for protection. And then they are crying that abhi vote nahi milne wala hai, something. But it will carry on. We understand we have to face this and we will fight with it. Because the people of Bengal, this 11 crore people and this whole Janta party is with us, because we have seen the vote share where it is going. As you heard the Honorable Chief Minister of Bengal, as she cleared everything to the people of Bengal, and top of that, what media has done and what media has shown, whether it's not about your channel or whatever, what's the media, what they have shown, people are in a kind of distress situation. They are not liking it because, as Gargi Roy said, her auntie went to vote and she was not being able to vote. I mean, that's her statement. If I say that my uncle went to vote and he was very happy to see a silent situation, a peaceful and calm election, who's going to believe that?
No, but are you suggesting, sir, that the election atmosphere, once again, the election atmosphere in Bengal, what we've seen over the last 15-20 days, was peaceful? Is that your contention?
Absolutely.
It was peaceful.
Out of 63,000 votes, only 60 votes was held. We are not denying that. Gargi ji, we are not denying that death.
So then how is it peaceful, sir? Sir, one second. So, one second. Tausif.
I'll come to you.
How, if 40 plus people have died in this day and age, in the 21st century for a local body election, then how is that peaceful?
Zaka, let me just tell me something. You are such an experienced journalist. If you have already planned a situation, a kind of right situation to procure in West Bengal, who's going to stop that? No one can stop that. Even Rajiv Gandhi and Sonia and Indira Gandhi was assassinated. Who stopped that? No one could have stopped that because you already planned what you are going to do in Bengal. Suvendu Adhikari planned everything. Dilip Ghosh planned everything. Loket Chatterjee planned everything.
Okay,
you need to go on the ground
like I said, you are an opposition party. Nationally speaking, you are well within a right to fling mud on your political opponents. But
yes,
the responsibility for law and order squarely and solely rests with the state government, and it has been found wanting. It has been found wanting. If 40 people have died, and that's the unofficial estimates, then clearly the state government should have done a better job of protecting those lives.
I remember 2002 Gujarat,
but let me ask Meeta Chakrabarti. One second, let me ask Meeta Chakrabarti. The fact remains that any veneer that you had of opposition unity, especially after the Patna meeting last month, is now blown to smithereens because the TMC has won out and right. The CPM Congress alliance has never really taken off. And in those minority-dominated districts or seats, it seems like the ISF is the one that's challenging the TMC and not either Congress or left.
No, I think the ISF tally is much lower than the left and the Congress's tally, number one. And number two, I think you just said that nobody of consequence had actually opposed this violence or condemned this violence. AICC President, Mr. Khargeji, I think he's a person whose words should be taken seriously. And he had gone on record and condemned this violence and had also said that if we do not have free and fair polls, then that is the end, that is the death of democracy. He had given a statement in media. So this violence has been condemned by none other than by the national president of Indian National Congress Party. And even when we talk about opposition unity, we cannot stand and tolerate violence. There should be zero tolerance for violence, and we stand by that particular principle and that particular policy.
Gargi Nanji Roy, I'll give you the final word.
Yes.
Like I said, every time you quote history, it almost seems like it's a justification for what's going on. But then, like I said, political violence in Bengal is not just a TMC problem. It predates the TMC. It predates from before when Mamata Banerjee came onto the political scene. When the left was there was far more political violence for 30 years.
Right.
I'm not saying one justifies the other, but maybe this is a seeped-in culture issue, the political culture of the state.
Yes. Zaka, I want to give two rebuttals to both of them. First to Meeta, she said Kharge ji has condemned. The entire killing started with Congress candidate Fulchand Sheikh's killing when he had filed a nomination, and so many Congress, CPM, BJP, ISF, everybody has died. What is Hesbuch saying? That BJP is doing it. Yesterday, even after the results are declared, they have killed people firing. You know the kin of the deceased of Rezaul Ghazi of ISF, a young boy. They are saying that Arabul and Shaukat Molla's men in police uniform were firing. What are you talking? Only BJP men have died. And Meeta ji, if your people have died in the state of West Bengal, will Congress still hold the hand of TMC in the center just to oppose Modi ji? Please say honestly, how can your people are dying in West Bengal? They have been killed by TMC. Will you join them at the center? Isn't that hypocrisy? And as a Bengal,
can I answer that?
Yeah, okay. Professor Gargi, let you ask Meeta Chakrabarti a question. Let her answer that. Yes, Meeta Chakrabarti. I mean, Congress folks have also been killed in this violence.
Absolutely, and the list is very long. On the very first day of nomination filing, we had Fulchand Sheikh, who was brutally murdered in the district of Murshidabad. Then Alfazuddin, Aurobindo Mondal, the list goes, it's a very long list. And I have gone and met some of these families.
Okay.
So yes, we absolutely condemn this violence. These are our colleagues, these are our party workers. And I keep on repeating that in any civilized nation, there cannot be any place for political violence.
Okay, I'll give Sanju Verma the final word. No, Sanju Verma, you said, one second. I have a specific question to you. You said in your earlier answer, you went from 3 seats to 77 seats in the assembly. You won 18 Lok Sabha in 2019. But the prevailing view in Bengal, the political situation in Bengal, and more so after these panchayat election results, 40,000 plus wards and seats to the TMC, around 10,000 or so, little less than 10,000 to the BJP. The prevailing political situation seems to be that if elections are held today, Lok Sabha or Assembly, then the BJP will not get what it got in 2019 or what it got in 2021. How do you respond?
You know, Zaka, first let's be very clear that in the assembly elections in 2024 or 21, when we got 77 seats, the left got 1 seat, the Congress was reduced to 0. In 2019, the Congress got 2 Lok Sabha seats, we got 18, Trinamool 22, and the CPM got 0. My limited point is that it is a bipolar contest in West Bengal when you see the Lok Sabha or the last preceding assembly election with Trinamool Congress being the ruling party and the BJP giving it a tough fight and being the principal opposition party. Now, if you are trying to extrapolate the panchayat elections and say that the BJP strength has whittled down, I would just like to, say that when in Uttar Pradesh, as recently as April 2023, I remember we won all the 17 mayoral elections to all the 17 municipal corporations. And overall, in the urban local bodies, we won 420 out of 544 seats, which is a strike rate of 77%. And do you know, I'm not talking about you. I was in a zillion debates and people said, "Arey bhai sahab, arey behan ji, urban local body polls to jeet gaye ho, but you will not win Uttar Pradesh 2024. You will not replicate your tally of 62 seats. We got 775 out of 980 seats in the Gujarat civic body polls 2 years back, and people said, no, you can't extrapolate Gujarat civic body to what you will do in 2024. So my limited point is, if Uttar Pradesh cannot be a mirror or a precursor of things to come, West Bengal certainly cannot be a precursor of things to come.
We'll see how that plays out in 2024. In the meanwhile, thank you very much to Sanju Verma, Meeta Chakrabarti, Professor Gargi, and of course Tausif Rahman for joining us from the TMC. Let's now shift focus. 13 years ago, multiple assailants linked to the now banned Popular Front of India chopped the right hand of Professor T.J. Joseph, who served as a professor at the Newman College in Idukki in Kerala. The incident took place when he was returning home with his family after attending Sunday Mass in Ernakulam. According to the investigating agency, it was the reference to Prophet Muhammad in one of the question papers for BCom exams set by Professor Joseph that provoked the accused. Today, an NIA court has convicted 6 suspects and acquitted 5. The court found them guilty of attempted murder and conspiracy. This was the second phase of the trial in the case. The quantum of sentencing will be pronounced tomorrow. So, joining me now is Professor T.J. Joseph. The verdict in this case where your hand was chopped, and it was more than a decade ago, it has just come out. Today, 6 people were convicted. How do you feel about this verdict coming as it does over a decade since your hand was cut off, sir?
I am just a witness in the case. The culprit is the government here. I do not fear this judgment. I consider this judgment as justice for myself and the state. If people consider this my victory, then they are just enjoying vengeance. I do not have any such anger towards the accused, so I don't feel anything about this verdict. I feel bad for them because I think they are also victims of religious hatred. They are just like the swords and knives which was a medium to attack me. They are just obeying somebody else's orders.
But you're saying, Professor Joseph, that these convicts are pawns, or that they are also victims of hatred. They are not the real masterminds. Who then, according to you, in your opinion, what is the root cause behind this mindset which led to this kind of depravity, which led to this kind of barbarism against you, where your hand was chopped off because some people did not like a question that you set as a teacher, as a professor?
It's the leaders who should be arrested for encouraging such hate-induced crimes. The ideologies that have been carried forward since the ancient times are being used to harm other human beings. Such belief systems should be eradicated once and for all. All religious believers are victims of such age-old ideologies. Our main motive should be to save humankind from such manipulative systems. All religious believers are victims of such age-old ideologies. Our main motive should be to save humankind from such manipulative systems.
And finally, Professor Joseph, there were 11 people in total who were accused in this case, who were accused of chopping off your hand. Today, 6 people were convicted and 5 were acquitted. What do you have to say about the ones who have been acquitted, their role, and also the fact that it's taken 13 years for this verdict to come out? What do you have to say about that?
Although this case began with full enthusiasm, but due to certain interventions, the progress of the case slowed down at times. In 2015, there were 33 people who were questioned, and there was a verdict at that time which came out. The people who were arrested after that were produced in court today. Some were found guilty and some were released on the basis of evidence. If there is no proper evidence, then the accused will be released, and not because they did not commit the crime. So accordingly, a judgment was given, and I don't want to comment on it.
All right, Professor T.J. Joseph, we'll leave it at that. We'll see if the other accused, some of whom have been acquitted by court, whether further appellate courts convict them as well. But one step in the closure towards that case, with 6 people getting convicted in the hand-chopping case of Professor T.J. Joseph of Kerala. Meanwhile, we're now shifting focus from after the historic visit to the United States. Prime Minister Modi will now begin a 2-day visit to France. It'll also be high on impact as well as deliverables. Prime Minister Modi will be the guest of honor at the Bastille Day celebrations. A tri-services contingent from India will also be participating in the Victory Parade rally. Prime Minister Modi's visit coincides with the 25th anniversary of the Indo-French strategic partnership. He will hold talks and as well as attend a private dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron, as well as a joint meeting with CEOs. Ambitious outcomes are expected in technology, space, defense, geostrategy, and infrastructure. Let's get you an overview of the big deals that are expected to be signed over the next couple of days. First things first, we are all set to see a new deal for the Indian Navy for 26 Rafale jets for the INS Vikrant, the aircraft carrier. These 26 Rafale Ms will be delivered to the Indian Navy for use on India's aircraft carrier. On the anvil also is a deal for 3 Scorpene-class submarines, as well as an announcement that is expected on the engines for the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, the AMCA. Also, a decision is expected on the Jaitapur nuclear power plant project, which has been hanging fire for a number of years now. It is supposed to come up in Jaitapur in Maharashtra at around the time of the Indo-US nuclear deal being signed and ratified by the Indian Parliament. It's been multiple years since then. Nothing has moved on that project. And also an announcement is expected for further cooperation on next-generation helicopter engines. Sanjay Suri is now joining us live from Paris. Sanjay, we can see the Eiffel Tower in your background. What is the mood like there in Paris? And especially so, I mean, there'll be a lot of deals. I just outlined a few of them that could be expected to be signed over the next couple of days. But the weight of expectations coming as this visit does, just a few weeks after the historic visit to the United States, how much is there the weight of expectations as Prime Minister touches down in Paris tomorrow?
You know, there is, of course, great enthusiasm always for the Bastille Day parade. It's the big event in the calendar here, and this year it has a very Indian flavor, and that's going to be visible here on the streets of Paris. But really, what is of import and what is not lost on anyone is the economic significance of this visit for France. A lot of deals are expected to be signed, and these are major deals. They do a lot for the French economy, for people's employment, for the industry, for the economy, and therefore India is being considered as a very promising partner. Certainly India is bringing a lot of business to France. For India, that need is very clear. Almost, you would say, if not France, who? Certainly not Russia, given the engagement of Russia in its own war, that it is struggling to keep up, and the quality of its armor has been much questioned after that Ukraine war. With the US, yes, there was some talk about the Hornet, other aircraft systems, but there is always a question about the level of control the US Congress can continue to exert from time to time on a deal. We've seen sanctions. India has been hit by sanctions from the US after the 74 nuclear test, after 98. The French haven't politically gone that far, which is not to say that everything else is sorted out, but at least it does mean that politically these obstacles don't come in the way when it comes to the French.
And you were talking about the Russia-Ukraine war, and obviously that is going to be, you know, a big topic of conversation when the Prime Minister and the President of France meet in their bilateral engagements. Clearly, India has taken a position that is slightly different from what most European countries have taken, and indeed the United States has taken as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. Even in Europe, between European countries, while in principle everyone's standing solidly behind Ukraine, the French seem to be taking a slightly more pragmatic approach. Is there any possible meeting ground, if you will, between India and France on the question of Ukraine, or can France afford to risk being seen as a bit of an outlier state in Europe when it comes to support for Ukraine and the means of that support in this almost never-ending war with Russia?
Well, the French position sometimes is a little difficult to read. The French have been quite emphatic in their support to Ukraine, and they have announced, in fact, on the eve of this visit, delivery of long-range missiles. The British were the first to come in with that. Now the French have offered it, but the French have always sought to try and keep Russia on board. We remember that long meeting on that long table between Macron and Putin before that invasion. Since then, France has tried to stay engaged. The fact is that it is well recognized in France that there's a point after which a confrontational attitude is not going to be productive. They continue to try and keep Russia engaged in some sort of dialogue. No clear end in sight, but at least that's a start. At least it keeps some gateway open. But the French have absolutely no doubt that they are backing Ukraine and that they oppose this invasion, and that is a fundamental principle that is not being compromised.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Sanjay Suri will be joining us live. He's going to have a busy next couple of days there in Paris as the Prime Minister touches down tomorrow evening, 4 o'clock India time. And then he's got a packed schedule with a diaspora event. And then there is a dinner that's there tomorrow as well in the presidential palace. And then there is another meal that the French president and the Prime Minister will be sharing inside the Louvre Museum. So it's going to be a really, really busy and packed schedule for the next couple of days. We've got reactions from the Foreign Secretary. He outlined and formally announced the start of the visit today. And also, we have spoken to the French ambassador here in India, Emmanuel Lenay.
India and France have a long-standing strategic partnership, which actually captures a series of strategic convergences that both countries have on a range of issues. And this year marks 25th anniversary of our strategic partnership. Security cooperation, space cooperation, engagement in the civil nuclear domain, technology partnership, partnership in the field of counterterrorism, cybersecurity, climate change, renewable energy, issues relating to International Solar Alliance.
What is something that this meeting holds significance for, and what is the outcome that you would say that is going to be?
Well, it's a great pleasure to see this visit taking place. It's going to give a great push to our relations, and it's a very important symbolic visit. As you know, it's not every year that we have a country foreign guest to our National Day with troops and taking part to the parade with planes in the sky. And we thought that this year, for the 25th anniversary of the strategic partnership, it was the time, and we should have India again and your Prime Minister visiting Paris for National Day.
Okay. And we have been, Rafale, the fighter jet, which has been much talked about, and which is, I think, almost the whole consignment is in India now.
Totally, and it's been there for a few months. The 36 have been delivered on time, and it's a great matter of pride in spite of COVID, when the factories had to close in all our countries. Then the teams have been working extra hours, nights, weekends, to make sure that the Indian Air Force was served on time, and it's the case. And I can confirm that all the 36 planes are being used by great pilots from India and are fully operational.
And finally, rain fury continues across northern India. Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh are the worst affected. Over 70 people have lost their lives in Himachal Pradesh. Floods have also disrupted daily movement in the hilly states, as over 1,200 roads have been blocked, including the Shimla-Kalka and the Manali-Chandigarh national highways. Over 1,400 bus routes have been suspended. The Uttarakhand government has also put the State Disaster Response Force and other disaster management agencies on alert. Over 100 roads remain blocked across Uttarakhand. Heavy rainfall and a surging Yamuna have caused flooding in Delhi, particularly in low-lying areas. The Yamuna is currently flowing well above the danger mark.
We are right now on a boat, and with this you can only imagine how the people are forced to actually use boats in this very area. That particular side you can see is this particular construction is built on a little bit higher level, so people are easily they are able to walk on these roads. And in fact you can see they are actually taking out their essential goods from their houses, and in fact they are moving it to the safer zones. On the other side of this building, in fact of this very wall, there are certain relief camps which have been set up by the authorities over here, and these people who have been living here have shifted mostly to these places. Now water, you can see the situation over here, and in fact the water on this very side of this very wall is approximately 4 to 5 feet. And in fact now there are added fears which have the added fears which the people are actually people are fearing certain things, including the free flow of electricity, but the people have maintained that electricity have been cut in this area. So right now what is also happening is that some of the people have also complained that some aquatic animals have also come into this very place. And in fact a gentleman was just telling some time back that he also saw a small alligator in these waters. So this is not just about how water has actually receded inside these very areas. You can see this is a famous Hanuman temple over here at Yamuna Ghat. On a regular day, a lot of devotees come to this very spot to actually pray. But now you can see the Hanuman idol is also immersed under the water. So the situation remains very grim over here. You see, Yamuna has crossed the danger level mark. In fact, 48 hours have already been passed. In fact, day before yesterday, Yamuna crossed the danger level mark. But as of now, it is flowing above to the 207 mark. Whenever we talk about the flood condition in the national capital, so this whole scene, in fact, reminds us of the 1978 when the water level was in fact recorded at 207.48. But now I'm showing you the visuals of famous Shani Mandir. Here in the Old Delhi area, where in fact you can see the two visuals. First of all, this particular board where we have this Shri Shani Chalisha written, and you can see the visual there, and also this this boy who is standing. In fact, 3 to 4 feet of water. In fact, this water has come inside to this particular temple premise, and also as far as these people are concerned, so they are saying that a number of animals, aquatic animals, are seen in this particular water. आप मुझे बताइए क्या नाम है आपका और अब कब पानी आया इस मंदिर?
कृष्णकांत शर्मा नाम है मेरा।
अच्छा।
और कल रात से पानी आना शुरू हो गया था मंदिर में।
कल रात से पानी शुरू हो गया था। सांप वगैरह भी आ रहे हैं?
सांप वगैरह भी है, जानवर वगैरह भी आ रहे हैं इसमें।
अच्छा, तो आप लोगों से बोला गया है यहाँ से चले जाने के लिए या सामान
करने के लिए बोला? वाटर लेवल अभी और बढ़ेगा।
अच्छा, वाटर लेवल और बढ़ेगा। तो क्या कुछ आप कर रहे हैं? कैसे क्या कुछ सामान यहाँ से पिक कर रहे हो? कहाँ लेके जाएंगे?
सामान है मंदिर का, वो सारा यहाँ से मंदिर से बाहर कर रहे हैं। हाँ। हाइट पे कर रहे हैं। हाँ। ताकि वो खराब ना हो।
I'm coming to you from one of the worst affected areas, which is the Yamuna Bazaar area, and in fact you can see in these visuals how high the water has actually come inside this very area, and in fact it's a lower lying area, and in fact just on the bank of river Yamuna, in fact the water level, if I can tell you, this is almost 5 feet of water, and most of the people have actually now left this very space, and in fact the local see you can how bad is the situation there. In fact how the structures are collapsing. In fact over here you can see, and in fact the locals were complaining about these structures from a very long time, and now you just saw how the structures are being collapsed. And in fact the reason locals say they were actually now they are doing it deliberately because these are the structures which are very shrill in nature, and in fact if they'll not remove these construction, it can become a hazard to many people, because right now what people are doing, they are using boats. These are very dramatic visuals coming in from Yamuna Bazaar area. They're using boats just to actually commute from their homes to the side of this very road, because now what they are doing is they are actually shifting their essential goods from their homes to the outer areas, and actually this is the situation now. This gentleman, what is he complaining about is he's saying that the authorities had earlier given the earlier warned about this very structure and other structure in this area, but now no official came down to this very place to actually remove these sorts of still structure. And now
rains in Himachal Pradesh continuously disturbing the lives of people here in the hill state. And right now we are reporting from the National Highway 705, which is Hatkoti to Shimla. And this is part of course, the district Shimla. And this is the NH situation right behind you. You can see this main road has a huge crack. This crack is of almost 30 to 50 meters long. You can see how road has completely sunk in and it has been closed. There is no vehicular movement from this side. All the vehicles are moving from that side, and that is also becoming very risky. Even while we are walking on this, it seems to be a little plungy. It can go down anytime, so therefore we'll also have to be very, very cautious at this point. This is the situation in 705 National Highway connecting Hatkoti to district Shimla. And in fact this house which is at the top of this road, you can see this is also in a very, very dangerous spot. You can see there's a crack on the wall as well. And I would ask my camera person to just show all the visuals while we do all the talking. And we have somebody who is owning this house, who's the owner of this house, and he's with us at this moment. This is a very very risky time for him. सबसे पहले तो आप अपना नाम बताइए, क्या नाम है आपका और क्या कब हुआ ये और आप लोग को कितना खतरा इस समय लग रहा है?
मेरा नाम दिग्विजय है और सबसे पहले मैं आपका न्यूज़ 18 का धन्यवाद करता हूं कि आप इतने मौसम खराब होने के बावजूद भी इसकी लाइव कवरेज के लिए यहां पर पहुंचे। जैसा कि आप ये सामने की सिचुएशन देख रहे हैं, ये सबसे पहले तो मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि ये बारिश के कारण ये सारी सिचुएशन उत्पन्न नहीं हुई है। इसका जो बेसिक रीज़न है, इट्स ऑल ड्यू टू द नेग्लिजेंसी ऑफ एनएच डिपार्टमेंट। ये अभी 6-8 महीने पहले ही इस 100 मीटर के पैच को रिस्टोर किया गया था एनएच के द्वारा, इसकी रीटायरिंग भी की गई और इसमें जो ये क्रैश बैरियर वाली साइड को आप देखेंगे तो इसमें गैप्स पड़ चुके थे, इधर इसमें गैप्स पड़ चुके थे। तो हम विभाग से
इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का खंभा है
नहीं, ये जियो के पोल है सर, इसमें ऑप्टिकल फाइबर गई है। तो हम इनसे गुहार लगाते गए कि इसमें सीमेंटेड कर दो और जैसे इन्होंने पीछे आप ड्रेन वाली साइड देखेंगे वहाँ पर जहाँ से भी अल्टरनेट रोड को बनाया गया है तो वहाँ पर इन्होंने सीमेंट डाला। तो हम इनसे गुहार लगाते रहे कि आप इस साइड को भी सीमेंट डालो और विभाग ने हमारी एक भी बात नहीं सुनी और वो कहने लगे कि भाई इंजीनियर हमें आप लोग तो नहीं है। और उसका खुमियाजा ये भुगतना पड़ा कि ये डंगा पहले भी लगाते हुए गिरा था जिसमें करोड़ों का नुकसान हुआ था और ये 110 मीटर इस डंगे की लंबाई है और 14 मीटर इसकी हाइट है।
उत्तराखंड के 4 धामों में से एक धाम गंगोत्री धाम में न्यूज 18 की टीम मौजूद है और यहाँ का नजारा आपको दिखाना चाहेंगे कि लगातार जो श्रद्धालु हैं, जो कांवड़िए हैं, वो यहाँ का रुख कर रहे हैं, लगातार पहुंच भी रहे हैं। और ऐसे में देखिए प्रशासन द्वारा जगह जगह कांवड़ियों को और पर्यटकों को रोका गया है कि वो पहाड़ी एरिया में मूव ना करें, लेकिन बावजूद इसके भी काफी कांवड़िए, काफी पर्यटक उत्तरकाशी से लेकर और गंगोत्री तक लगातार मूव कर रहे हैं। ऐसे में 3000 से ज्यादा कांवड़िए जो हैं वो जगह जगह मार्गों में फंसे हुए भी हैं और कहा जा सकता है कि ऐसे में लगातार मूव करना खतरे की जद में है, क्योंकि लगातार उत्तरकाशी से लेकर के गंगोत्री तक कई जगह पर मार्ग अवरुद्ध हैं, लगातार पहाड़ियों से पत्थर भी आ रहे हैं और ऐसे में गंगा का जल स्तर भी काफी बढ़ा हुआ है। तो ऐसे में प्रशासन द्वारा लोगों को रोका जा रहा है, उनसे अपील की जा रही है कि पहाड़ी एरियो में मूव ना करें और ज्यादा से ज्यादा सतर्क रहें।
इतना भयंकर मौसम पहले कभी देखा नहीं था। जो कुछ साथी है हमारे उत्तरकाशी में फंसे हुए हैं, वो इधर नहीं आ पा रहे हैं, हम उनके इंतजार बैठे।
गोमुख में फंसे हुए हैं,
ऊपर गंगोत्री के ऊपर गोमुख के लिए चले गए ट्रैक के लिए, अभी तो वो वापस नहीं आ पाए हैं, कोई जवाब नहीं मिल पा रहा है। ऊपर मौसम बहुत खराब है, नीचे भी पहाड़ वगैरह टूट गए हैं, वहाँ पे हमारी गाड़ी वगैरह फंसी हुई है। तो इस चीज
आप क्या कहिए, किस तरह का डर है मन में?
डर तो कुछ नहीं है, सब भोले की कृपा है। डर बस यही है कि जो हमारे साथी ऊपर फंसे हुए हैं, जो उत्तरकाशी में 2-4 आदमी हमारे फंसे हुए हैं, ये आपस में मिल जाए और हम अपनी कावड़ संपूर्ण तरीके से पहुंचा पाए। आज हमें जल उठाना था, लेकिन अब गोमुख से वो जल लेके निकले हैं, नहीं निकले हैं, कुछ अभी संपर्क नहीं हो पा रहा है।
तो जल तो आप हरिद्वार से भी ले सकते थे, गंगोत्री ही क्यों आपने चुना?
सर हमने पिछली बार, हम हरिद्वार से लाते हैं, हम कई साल से कावड़ ला रहे हैं, डाक कावड़ हम हरिद्वार से जल उठाते हैं, लेकिन हमने पिछली बार माना था कि कुछ भी हो जाए हम अगली बार से गोमुख से ही कावड़ उठाएंगे, चाहे बारिश आए, चाहे बाढ़ आए, चाहे कुछ भी आए। हम कई रास्ते हमारे टूटे हुए मिले, कई जगह पत्थर गिरे, कई हादसे से बचे हम, लेकिन फिर भी भोले का नाम लेते हुए सब कुछ करते हुए यहाँ तक पहुँचे हैं और यही है कि भोला ही हमें पहुँचाएगा अपने घर तक।
यहाँ पर तमाम लोग पहुँच रहे हैं गंगा घाटों पे गंगा जल भरने के लिए, ताकि वो यहाँ से गंगा जल लेकर के अपने गंतव्यों को जा सके।
By them, they did not comply to the order of the High Court. Even today, the Honorable High Court said that they made the central forces, that the CAPF people sit in the barracks instead of deploying them or instead of giving the list of the sensitive places where they could go. They did not even give them transportation. All this was said just a few hours back, although I am part of the petition. So I am being able to guide you more on that. Thereafter, it has been said by the Honorable Court today that from tomorrow itself, all the central forces which have been stopped for another 10 days in West Bengal, they will be, deployed in areas which are violence-prone areas, and they know it very well. The biggest violence-prone area, to your shock, if I say, it is Diamond Harbour, which is the constituency of Abhishek Banerjee.
Bring in Mr. O.P. Rawat, who's the former Chief Election Commissioner of India. He's joining me on the broadcast, and the attempt is to understand the protocol with the Election Commission when it is about polling in any state or in the country. Mr. Rawat, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. I first like to welcome you and understand, do you see something clearly amiss when it is about the role of the State Election Commission over what has happened in the state of West Bengal?
Actually, the local elections are always bitterly fought
not only in West Bengal, but most of the states. Because the stakes are too high for the local populace and the governance issues at the local level, they cause all these stresses and strains at the time of elections. But any violence is really unfortunate, whether it is elections or otherwise. There should be a strict protocol like Election Commission of India for legislative and parliament elections. They have a protocol that all sensitive, critical, hypersensitive booths will be identified. The policing arrangements with central paramilitary force will be, how will be deployed. Police observers will be deployed. All those arrangements are there, and they have published a manual also on these kind of issues. If those arrangements are in place, violence can be mitigated. Like in Bihar elections earlier, it used to be really very violent, but starting 2015, you see that there has been not a single case of violent incident there during legislative assembly election.
Mr. Rawat, I'd like to understand, while you say that, when you talk about the sensitive areas, the sensitive booths, even after the direction of the High Court, the Calcutta High Court, do you see that that entire protocol, that process was followed duly by the State Election Commission? Because what is being claimed is otherwise by the opposition in the state of West Bengal.
I will not enter into politics because elections have replaced wars and battles for deciding the successor to rule. So I won't go into that area. But because High Court directed at the time when we were in the thick of it, when campaigning was on. So at that time, when when the building is burning, you don't look for the water holes. That's the thing. So it has to be done well in advance, plan it, identify the critical, sensitive, hypersensitive booths, and deploy the forces which induce faith and confidence of all stakeholders in the arrangements. And that really prevents the violence.
Mr. Rawat, why I asked you that question is because even after the intervention of the court, there was a retaliatory plea that was put forth at the Calcutta High Court because the state government and the State Election Commission were not happy with the order of deployment of central forces in West Bengal. Do you think that also formed as a deterrent and that's why the violence could not really stop?
I won't be able to comment on that.
Okay.
But basically the preparedness beforehand and deployment of forces according to that strategy with proper identification of all these sensitive and critical areas would have really prevented.
Okay.
But nothing much could have been done after you are in it.
Okay. All right. Mr. O.P. Rawat, thank you so much and appreciate you joining us on Viewpoint and giving your time on the broadcast. And on that note, let me open this debate further to my panel who's joining me this evening. Priyanka Tibrewal of the BJP, Chandan Ghosh Chaudhary of the Bengal Congress, and JP Majumdar of the TMC is with us on the broadcast. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. Let me actually begin with JP Majumdar, since it's your government in the state of West Bengal. I'd like to first draw viewers' attention to the figure that's been quoted by the Chief Minister in the state. 19 deaths is what she's claiming as the official number of casualties that have come out as far as the pre and post-poll violence, which are still continuing unabated in the state of West Bengal. But what will the TMC say about what else could have been done so that this could have been avoided or brought down to a bare minimum?
Now, first of all, we have to see that such local polls, was Mr. O.P. Rawat said, that have got local stakes and at times get violent. And whoever died during this course of thing, we have regretted those incidents, and our Chief Minister has also expressed her regret about the whole thing. But the point is, while BJP was asking for blood, you see the Trinamool Congress for last 2 months, especially Abhishek Banerjee during her Padayatra across Bengal, always asked for peaceful election.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma.
come to you tonight from our new studios. Welcome to Vantage. Our team is growing along with our expanding viewer base. In the months ahead, we'll bring you more shows and many more stories and events that are shaping our world. Tonight, we want to talk about India, its defense deals, always a controversial topic. Our political ecosystem weaponizes defense acquisitions, but our security forces need them to guard our borders. Tonight, we'll tell you how India's defense has seen a major upgrade this year. From the deals in America last month to the ones expected in France later this week, we'll cover all of it and more. We're also looking at the NATO summit and the raw deal that Ukraine has been handed. Weapons and words of support, but no membership. In Pakistan, the Prime Minister has secured $2 billion in Saudi aid, but he's being trolled for it. A new report says artificial intelligence will take 27% of your jobs. We'll discuss what it means for you. The headlines first. North Korea continues its saber-rattling. It has fired a suspected long-range ballistic missile, its 12th launch in 2023. This comes just after Kim Jong-un's sister threatened to shoot down US spy planes over Pyongyang's airspace. The European Union will hold an urgent debate on the violence